I got that summertime sadness. Got that summertime sadness.
Spot ball with great skill from him. Doing the Mo Salah! Raheem Sterling! What a finish! What pure class from the Englishman!
Premier Talk, the English Premier League podcast for the fans.
Hello and welcome back to the Premier Talk podcast. This is episode 5. We're going to call this one Fan Q&A. I'm one of your two hosts, Andrew Molo, and alongside with me, as always, is Daniel Barbudo. Daniel, we got a good one in store today. We're going to do a little bit of match day mix-up. There's several match days we have to still go through, obviously. And then we're going to answer a boatload of fan questions today. So super exciting to get into this episode today.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. I'm excited for the fan questions because we do it a couple times. Usually it's just like 3 or 4. This week we got a lot of them. So thank you to all you guys for participating on our Instagram. And Andrew, why don't you start us off with the starting lineup?
So on the starting lineup today, we got the match day mix-up, including several match days. You got match day 26, 29, and 33.
And we also got, like we said, the fan questions. So we got an exciting one for you guys today.
Daniel, I don't know if you want to kickstart us here at the match day 26 games that happened on Saturday, February the 27th.
I will. We got our first one on Saturday, February 27th is Man City versus West Ham. Man City won this one 2-1. Ruben Diaz scored and John Stones scored the 2 for Manchester City. And in the middle of their 2 goals, Antonio scored in the 43rd. I think this is a good one for City. You got both center backs scoring and defending hard to win this game. This is exactly what you want to see. You know, that defensive pairing has been great all year, and they're being really hyped up right now, especially in the English media. City fans especially love these two guys, and it's good to see if you're a City fan.
Yeah, I think Ruben Diaz coming into the squad there has really revived John Stones' career, because at the start of the season, it looked like he was an exit was looming for John Stones, really, because Laporta was the main guy there, and then they knew if they brought in Ruben Diaz that he would compete for that spot, and Laporta and Ruben Diaz looked like the most likely partnership, right? But since Ruben's come in and due to Laporta's absence off the field because of injuries, been known to have a lot of injuries, John Stones has come in. And he's even passed Nathan Ake, because Nathan Ake is another center back that we haven't heard of at all this year, really. He's barely got any minutes. I don't know where his future lies with City, but I think Ruben Diaz has really helped elevate John Stones' game and really helped continue John Stones' career as a Man City player.
It's funny how you mentioned Ake too, because I saw it was Ake's birthday a couple days ago, and Bournemouth tweeted saying, "Oh, happy birthday, Ake," and they had a bunch of clips of him, and I was like, does Ake even play on City? Because you never see the guy play.
He's MIA right now, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy is. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next game here. We got 2 lower tier sides. We got West Brom and Brighton. This one ended 1-0 for West Brom. The center back, Kyle Bartley, scored the only goal. He scored early, and then Brighton missed 2 penalties, one in the 19th and one in the 75th. If you're Brighton, these are huge points for you that you got to be winning against West Brom, who's sitting right now in relegation. It's or just above relegation. Sorry. This isn't good from Brighton. You're missing 2 penalties. Penalties nowadays, I know they've gotten a lot harder than what they've used to be, but they should still be automatic goals for me. Missing 2 of them in a game doesn't look good on your side.
Yeah, West Brom, great result for them to get 3 points. That was much needed against a lower tier side in the league. And for West Brom, it's kind of good of late because they've been stringing along some wins here and there. So better results of late from West Brom for sure.
Again, just another quick game. We got Leeds versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa won this one 1-0. You got center back Kyle Bartley scored the only goal in this one. Sorry, I'm all over the place. We got Al Ghazi scored the only goal in this one 5 minutes in. And Leeds did have a good amount of pressure. They were pressuring a lot through the rest of the game, considering a really early goal. You're expecting Leeds to come back in this one, but they didn't have what it took to get this equalizing goal. And if you look at Aston Villa, it's a good win for them. They're sitting mid-table, so is Leeds, and just a big mid-table matchup, and they needed to win, and they came out with the 3 points.
Yeah, I was tuning into the Portuguese media the other day, and Sporting Clube de Portugal is currently sitting in first place. They're under head coach Ruben Amorim. He's a very young coach, and he's really turned that Sporting team around. And I was reading the rumor, and the rumor was that there were several Premier League clubs interested in hiring him. And today he goes and signs an extension to his contract with a 30 million release clause as a coach. So I don't know if that's going to happen anymore, but he was rumored to go to Leeds possibly to replace Bielsa. And I think the other team was I can't remember the other team now, but I remember Leeds being one of the names being mentioned that he's rumored to be linked with. And I think that's I think that was just a rumor, but that would have been interesting to see because right now Leeds they obviously got promoted with Bielsa after so many years away from the Prem. But do you think maybe there's a chance that he can possibly lose his job because they've been losing some games of late?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility for it. I think they came in looking like a really good side, and as of late they've kind of slowed down. Um, I don't know, maybe just a change of manager, like you said, he's been there for so long. He's helped them rise up the ranks. It's like I at the same time though, I feel bad for managers like that because he finally took them back to the Premier League and now he's gonna get sacked because his run of form in the Premier League hasn't been great. Um, I think he still has some time though. I don't think they're gonna decide anything quickly because I still think that if they can go on a hot run, that they'll still jump up the table and he'll prove to his higher rankings why he deserves this job.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he's the one that got them promoted after all these years, right? And
Hmm.
to become a newly promoted team, you're usually at the bottom of the table fighting for relegation, and that's not the
Hmm.
case with Leeds. They're doing quite decent for the team that they have and the players that they have available. So, yeah, I don't think his job's in contention. I just thought it was a quite interesting rumor to talk about.
Hmm. We're going to move on to the last game here on Saturday, February 27th. We got Newcastle versus Wolves. This one ended in a 1-1 draw. We got center back Lascelles. I cannot say this guy's name for the life of me.
Lascelles.
Lascelles. He scored in the 57th minute, and Wolves looked really good. And then, or sorry, Newcastle looked really good. And then Wolves equalized with Ruben Neves in the 73rd. Um, Wolves have looked, their form has looked pretty good over the last couple weeks. So I think this tie isn't great for them. Um, I think that they should have won this one, but they didn't come up on top.
Yeah, the result is like a meh. It's whatever for Wolves.
Hmm.
Newcastle, decent result. But Wolves, for me, I'm gonna go back to a time and time again. They're missing that number 9 up top, and I've been saying this. Raul Jimenez is their guy, and without him in that system, in that front three, or when they switch to a two striker and that with the three back, you're missing him. He's got such an unreal presence, and people don't realize how good of a striker is. He's
Hmm.
truly an underrated player. Um, and for him to be away right now due to injury, obviously he had a serious injury, a head injury months back. It's a big blow for them, and it goes to show you they don't have all the reliance placed on Fabio Silva to go out there and do a game in game out. He's so young. They spent
Hmm.
50 million. I still don't. I can't wrap my head around that transfer. We already talked about it episodes, loads of episodes ago. But and they go and bring William Jose from Spain, and you know
Hasn't been great.
it hasn't been great. So they're really missing that guy up front, and they can't find a solution to it as of yet.
We're going to move on to Sunday, February 28th. There was 5 games in this one. The first one was a 0-0 draw between Crystal Palace and Fulham. No goals in this one, not much to talk about. The second game was Arsenal and Leicester. This was a big game. Both teams, Arsenal, they're sitting back in 10th. Leicester right now sitting in third with just later we're going to talk about the Man United game, but Man United drew. So this was a huge game for Leicester. Um, but they ended up losing to Arsenal, which was, I think, a little bit unexpected because Arsenal played fantastic in this one and Leicester wasn't really up to the challenge. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but Arsenal still came out on top. We got Tielemans scoring early in the 6th minute. He put Leicester up 1-0, and then David Luiz equalized in the 39th. And then Lacazette scored right before halftime in like the 45th plus 3 to put Arsenal up top 2-1. And then when they came back from halftime, 7 minutes in, Nicolas Pepe finally getting on the goal sheet in the 52nd minute. And for me, this is a big win for Arsenal.
Huge
Like I
win,
said,
huge win.
battling 10th, you're playing a team like Leicester who is going to come out and fight no matter the injuries they have, no matter what's going on and off the field. It doesn't matter. They're going to come out and play. And Arsenal come out on top of this one. It's a huge 3 points.
Leicester's a great team. I
Mhm.
like I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough. Leicester's a great team. And over the years, the last couple of years, they've really solidified their place in that top six, right? Even the top four, they've tried to fight for that top four. Uh, and for Arsenal to come and beat them 3-1, it's a great result for Arteta's men. They've struggled a lot of times this year against some of the bigger teams, and Leicester is a big team. Don't underestimate them because
Mhm.
they got some really great. There's loads of talent there, right? So huge win for Arsenal and a huge 3 points to propel them, in an upward direction because they need to continue, getting results like these to move up in the table, and they don't want to finish the season 10th place. That's for sure.
Hmm. We're gonna talk about another big game here. Not so much a big game for Burnley, but for Tottenham, it's a big game.
Yeah.
Um, Tottenham, their form hasn't been great, so they needed to come out here and do something big, and that's exactly what they did. Beating Burnley 4-0 is a great win for them, and a couple players like Bale getting back in form is great to see. We got Bale scoring two in this one. He scored in the second and the 55th. Kane scored in the 15th, and then Lucas Moura scored in the 31st. You got three of your four main attackers, not including Heung-min Son, who are scoring, getting on the goal sheet, and Heung-min Son was he assisted Bale's second goal. So you know what, all three of them getting points in this one, and this is complete domination from Tottenham. Exactly what's needed. Mourinho's been under fire lately with his manager spot. I know we've been talking about it. I don't think he has long, but now if you keep putting up wins like this, I think he saves his job.
It had to be a 4-0 win. It had to be a big, blowout for Tottenham because there's no confidence in that team right now.
Hmm.
They've been struggling similar to what, Arsenal's going through. And for them to come out and win 4-0 against Burnley, it's not an easy feat to beat anyone in the Premier League by that scoreline. So going out there, they looked locked in, they looked ready to go, and this is what they need to do game in, game out. And they haven't been able to do a game in, game out. They've been struggling. And today, on that day, the best thing for them was not the 4-0 or the 4 goals. It was the nil, the not being able to be scored against. That's keeping a clean sheet was crucial for them because their defense has been terrible this season,
Hmm.
absolutely terrible. The flanks, the two center halves I mentioned in previous episodes, they have to be better, and they were better on this day. And they have to continue playing as an organized unit. I know it's against Burnley. Their attack is not, wood, and these guys they're not going to cause them like crazy problems like the top six teams do or the top four teams do,
Hmm.
right? But it was good for them to get a clean sheet.
Move on, Andrew. This was a me versus you matchup. We got Manchester United versus Chelsea here. Again, not a. It was a massive game for both these teams. They both needed the 3 points. They both came out with one after a 0-0 draw. I think the biggest talking point in this one was I'm gonna say a small shout for a handball. It looked like Greenwood lifted the arm. I can't remember who it was. He lifted the arm. I don't even know. I want to say Hudson Odoi so badly, but I don't think it was Hudson Odoi.
I think it might
Uh,
have been Hudson Odoi.
was it? I can't remember who it was. Lifted the arm slightly, hit him in the arm. Um, United players wanted it. It wasn't given. I think that's the main talking point in this one. But then again, not a lot to talk about in this one.
Yeah, I think the result was deserved. It was a 0-0 final, and I think both teams deserved a tie. There was no superior team by any means in this game. There was just like a gridlock type of game,
Mhm.
Daniel. So I think 0-0's deserved for this result.
We're gonna move on to the next one here. We got Sheffield versus Liverpool. Liverpool came out on top of this one 2-0, which I think everybody expected. Um, Liverpool, I know they haven't been in great form lately, battling a lot of injuries again. But they came out on top of this one. You got Chris Jones scoring in the 48th minute, and then we got Keane Bryan. He scored an own goal for Sheffield in the 64th. Like I said, this should be a win for Liverpool. I don't think that they should be even having a small amount of difficulty with Sheffield sitting where they are. This is good to see if you're a Liverpool fan, I think.
Yeah, Liverpool really needed this result. They've been poor of late. The thing this year that I don't think many teams have experienced in years prior, I don't know why. The commonality is that a lot of teams are going through really, really bad stints of football, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Tottenham, they're in first, and they've absolutely spiraled downward. Arsenal has been on a terrible run. Chelsea had a terrible run when they were sitting in eighth place. Look where they are now.
Mhm.
Um, and then following suit, the same thing here. So it just it's not, I don't know, it's just I haven't
It's the
seen
COVID
this.
era.
Yeah, it's the COVID era, and I think there's a lot of factors that play into it, Daniel.
Mhm.
um Obviously the games that they're playing within a week span, they have to go play European football, then they have to come play Premier League football, then there's
Mhm.
cup ties. It's a lot on the players, and then especially with the numerous injuries that can happen due to, I think it's due to all these games that are occurring in such a short span of time that we're getting these injuries that we never really seen like
Mhm.
in these numbers, right? So
The ACLs that were being torn at the beginning of the year it was crazy.
Yeah.
For the amount of people, like big players that were going, and just week after week, you're hearing more injury reports, and it was just torn ACLs and like big injuries that players take like a year to come back from, and then they're still not at like peak performance because that's a huge injury for them. And I don't know, it's been a really weird year. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's been weird.
It has been. Daniel, want to go to Monday, March the 1st here?
Monday, March the 1st. We only got one game on March the 1st. We're still in match day 26. This is the last game for match day 26. We got Everton versus Southampton. Richarlison scored the only goal in this one, and he's been playing really well. I gotta say, it's his fourth goal in 4 games. If you're Everton, this is exactly what you need. You need clean wins, uh, clean sheets. Richarlison's getting on the goal sheet. This is perfect for me.
It's another great result for Everton. They came off that Liverpool win at Anfield, and then they need to continue that form. They can't just, taper off. They've been continuing to play at a high level, and none other than Richarlison. The goals have got to come from somewhere, and they're coming through the Brazilian striker or
Mm-hmm.
winger. He's very versatile up front. So when Calvert-Lewin's not firing on all cylinders, who's there? It's Richarlison, and I
Yep.
think they got a really underrated attack. People don't talk about them enough. They're still fairly young players. They haven't even hit their prime, which is this is a great thing if you're an Everton fan. There's so many years ahead of them playing together. And there's just a dynamic duo. And then you add a good playmaker like Hamas. And when Hamas is on the money, he's on the money, feeding those guys. Since the start of the season, he's tapered off a little bit. I'd say Hamas, which is fine because you got other
Mhm.
guys that could step in. But those two guys have definitely been leading the way for that Everton side.
James came in really hot. I think he has something to prove. He had confidence behind him. People believed in him again. I think he needs that back because when he came in at the beginning of the year, everybody's like, "Wow, James is back." He was playing well, going in, getting points for his team, helping his team win games. I think he needs to get that confidence back. I don't know where it comes from. If somebody needs to light a fire under his butt, but something needs to happen. Um,
Danny, I just want to ask you a question before we go on here. If you had to pick an MIP right now, most improved player since from last year, who would it be?
ooh, most improved player. That's a good. I don't know who. I'll start you. I'll flip it back at you. Who do you think? Give me some time to
I
think.
Now that we're on the topic here, I'd probably say Calvert Lewin because Calvert Lewin
Hmm.
he was coming into his role, but this year compared to last year and previous years when he's featured in games here and there, he's been amazing at times, right? He's been really a huge danger for opposing defenses in many cases. So I'd probably give the nod to him.
I'm gonna have to say one of two players. I think Luke Shaw's been great this year, which he hasn't been in the last couple of years. I think he's been fantastic. I think for me, MIP right now, John Stones. I don't know if that has something to do with Ruben Diaz coming into this squad and they fit. They're a great pairing together. But last year he was non-existent. Then again, he was battling a lot of injuries. This year he comes in, he's been playing fantastic. For me, he's my MIP.
Yeah, Luke Shaw's a great pick there too. He's been phenomenal of late, and they went to go bring in Alex Telch.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't really even featured because Luke Shaw's been that good, and Luke Shaw hasn't given up his spot yet at that playing, day in day out left back. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really
I
impressive
don't.
stuff from Luke Shaw, especially after that injury against PSV years ago
Mm-hmm.
when his leg was absolutely, it was a
Oh,
horrific
that was
injury.
I
His
can't
leg
stand him.
was mangled. I watched that live that game and I couldn't believe what
Yeah.
I was seeing. And
Yeah.
I thought it's, to be honest, that looks like a career-ending injury. And for
Mm-hmm.
him to come back, I think it deserves a little bit of credit because people don't talk about it enough. I think people
Mm-hmm.
are so quick to jump the gun and really criticize players and not take into account, their struggles. They just, they're players, right? At the end of the day, they're making big money, but at the same time, they're just human beings too. And I think sometimes there's a little too much Luke Shaw slander, and I'll joke around myself, but I think he really deserves credit for the
Mm-hmm.
season he's really put around. And I think that's a great nod, not just because you're a Manchester United fan, but just in general, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's been absolutely great for them.
We move on to the next match day here. I This kind of confuses me. I know it's going to confuse you even more just hearing about it. We're on match day 26. Now we jump to match day 29. But I have no clue. Anyways, we're just gonna start us off Tuesday, March 2nd. We got Manchester City versus Wolves. City won this one 4-1. It was a great win from City. Den Donker scored an own goal in the 15th minute to put City up 1-0. And then Connor Cody scored a great header in the 61st minute. And going all the way up to the 80th minute, it was tied 1-1. Jesus scored in the 80th. Then Mara scored in the 90th, and Jesus scored again in the 93rd. This one ended 4-1, and Wolves just completely imploded at the end. I don't know where they went. They just decided that they thought that the game was over, and they got off the field. I have no clue. It was crazy.
Daniel, I think it was a matter of too much pressure. They couldn't withstand, sorry, the pressure that Man City was putting on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just kept coming. They were on top of them. They had possession. They looked dangerous most of the times that they're nearing the Wolves box. And um, Patricio made a couple of great saves in this match to keep it level for a good amount of that game, really. And then classic Mahrez cutting in left foot,
I thought, yep.
it happens. And with a team like City,
You
you
don't want to go
don't
down on
don't
City.
need don't no you don't need luck, Daniel. They create their own luck. That's how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much depth there. And so say I have Bernardo starting and Sterling on the wings, right? Say they're not having a good 50, 60 minutes. You could come on a guy like Morris. That's a game changer. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're just so stacked. I know it's unreal. They have the best depth in football by far. You can't deal with that. And for the Wolves, it was a great 80 minutes. It was a really, really good 80 minutes. Some of the best 80 minutes they played all season. And yes, there was mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
but at
There
the
always
same
is.
time, Daniel, it was great play from City to break down that organized back line because Connor Cody he's a commander, right? He's a chief back there for the team, and he was trying to keep parts organized there, and they just got broken down. And that's Pep Guardiola masterclass, and it's also the plethora of amazing players he has at his disposal. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't contend with that, Daniel.
Even I think as soon as Jesus scores to make it 2-1, then Wolves players realize there's 10 minutes left in the game. They got to start going forward. And that is exactly the opposite of what you want to do against City, because then as soon as you start going forward, they're going to counterattack you so fast that by the time you turn around to go back and defend, the ball's already in the back of your net because they play so fast. All the players are a fantastic passers, dribblers. That's why when they signed Mahrez, it was like one of those like perfect signings for City because he can dribble. He has a decent amount of pace. He can shoot. He can pass. It's a perfect City player. It's somebody who's very versatile, can play in the midfield, out wide, even as a hold-up striker if you really wanted him to. I think that was a great signing
He's
back in
got
the
an
day.
amazing IQ. He's got an amazing
Mm-hmm.
football IQ. He knows where to be. He knows when to make the right decisions. And under Pep Guardiola, if you play him in a right system, he's gonna do loads of damage. And he doesn't start
Thrive.
game in game out, and that's because once again the depth that they have so many world class wingers and midfielders. So it's hard to play every single game. That's why Sané wanted out as well, right? That's why he wanted
Mhm.
to go back home to Germany. It just it blows my mind that they have the team and the players available to them. It's crazy.
We're gonna move on here to Wednesday, March 3rd. There's 3 games on Wednesday. We got first one was Burnley and Leicester. I think everyone expected Leicester to come out coming off a loss to Arsenal, to win this one, but they ended up drawing to Burnley 1-1. Vidra scored in the fourth minute for Burnley really early, and then Iheanacho scored in the 34th minute. But then again, like it's just not what you expect from Leicester.
Yeah, tough tie for them, tough draw. Coming off a loss against Arsenal, like we mentioned, they would have wanted to win, but obviously the draw was the result on this day. Good from Burnley to also bounce back for their 4-0 loss. But yeah, draw here, tough result for Leicester, and the top four is getting even closer now. And then West Ham's still hungry for a spot, so it's gonna move around a lot still, Daniel. I'm super excited to see what happens.
Again, if you're Leicester, this is another bad dropped points because you're trying to catch Manchester United and Manchester United tying to Chelsea 0-0. You're expecting, you get to 3 points and you're even with them. They end up dropping 2 points in this one, and they didn't catch United. And then United did play later in the day, which we'll get to right after this Sheffield Aston Villa game, which we're going to jump to now. Sheffield won a game, surprisingly. They beat Aston Villa 1-0. And McGoldrick scored the only goal in this one in the 30th minute, and Jagielka got a red. But Sheffield was still able to hold on for the 3 points. I think this is massive. I don't know if they can keep this up because they're sitting in absolute dead last with
No chance, no chance.
no comeback in sight. But it would be nuts. Let's be honest with ourselves if they do come back and end up getting bumped out of relegation. But it doesn't look good for them right now.
No, absolutely not, Daniel. Not gonna happen. Not in a million years. I bet my whole, I
You
bet my
bet your
whole
life
future, I bet
savings.
my life savings on it. Right? There's no
Yeah.
chance. It's a great win for them. Great win for their fans, for their fan base. They were needing this obviously because they it sucks to lose game in game out or drop points game in game out.
Mhm.
And the future doesn't look like it's gonna be. It doesn't look like it's gonna lie in the Premier League for Sheffield. It's gonna look like it looks like it's gonna lie, very likely in the Championship. So give something for your fans to smile about. A
Yep.
win, 1-0 win. Even though you guys had a red card, you still did it. That shows heart. That shows determination. It's nice to see that the team still is fighting for something. They just are fighting for the win.
Mhm.
That's impressive.
We're gonna move on to the last game for Wednesday here. We got Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. Another 0-0 draw for Manchester United, which
Daniel,
is
isn't this the second
second drop points. Yep.
yeah, against Crystal Palace this
Yep.
year? I think that's the first time ever I was reading in the same season.
That's
Just want to put
awful.
that fact out there.
That is awful. Oh my god. We haven't beat Crystal Palace this year, and it's sad because we're dropping points to them. They beat us earlier. They beat
Daniel,
us, first or
Daniel,
second week.
it's kind of funny because you always talk bad about Crystal
I
Palace.
know. We start talking crap about a team, and then they come out and they tie Manchester. They beat Manchester United the first game, and now they go and they tie them. Like I don't know. I gotta stop talking crap about teams because as soon as they start talking, they start beating me, and it's not good. But yeah, second time in 3 days, United tie 0-0. They're not scoring anything. I guess the only good thing you can pull out of these two games is that they're not conceding at all either. Um, but you expect that front line, you got Rashford, Greenwood, Martial, Cavani, Dan James, Bruno, Pogba. You have goal machines all over the field, no matter who they play up top or in the midfield. And I think that they should be scoring goals, considering that's what they've been doing the whole first half of the season. And now all of a sudden they started to stutter. Um, but yeah, I go ahead because
Then I
I'm
want
really
to
frustrated talking about
save
this.
what I have to say about Manchester United for the fan question because there's a fan question regarding Manchester United. So I want to answer it and save my
You're
answer
gonna
for
save
the
it?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Thursday, March 4th. We're still in match day 29. We got West Brom versus Everton. Um, Everton won this one 1-0 against West Brom. And guess who's on the goal sheet again? Richarlison. He scored the only goal in this one, the 65th minute. Again, great to see from him. From an Everton standpoint, from an Everton standpoint, they should be beating West Brom. I think week in, week out. Again, great 3 points.
Huge for 3 points for them. This was his fourth goal, the stat that we previously mentioned.
Mhm.
Fourth goal in his fourth consecutive match. Super impressive stat. He's just got to keep it rolling. I've always liked him ever since he joined the likes of the Premier League when he joined Watford originally. I snatched him up in my fantasy. I saw the potential in him. I saw that he was a prolific striker, creative, that had a hunger for goals. And you see that hunger game in, game out for Everton. And I would love to have him personally on my Benfica. We need that. We miss it.
I
So
don't think he's gonna come to Benfica
no,
though.
obviously not. Nor do we have the money for a player like that. But who wouldn't want him on? You know what I'm saying? I know, like Manchester United would love to have him, wouldn't you?
I
You need
think there's
that.
plenty. There's plenty of teams across the Premier League.
You need
He's a
that
goal scorer.
because Cavani's not. He's not going to be there forever, and
Mhm.
he's also at the latter stages of career. And I think that would be an ideal signing actually for Manchester United. He could play out on the wing if they need him to, but he could play as a number 9 to
Mhm.
really, spark some creation there for Manchester United at the front and finish some chances.
Mhm. We move on to the last game of match day 29. We got probably the biggest game of the week. We got Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea won this one 1-0. We got Werner scored, but it was ruled offside. A controversial call based on where they're putting the lines for VAR. They're putting it on his hand, in his armpit, because that's the last point of contact that can actually score the goal. I don't know. VAR for me is all over the place. I can go on about that for hours. We don't have enough time for that one. Um, but I think talking point, Mason Mount. He played absolutely fantastic in this one. He scored the only goal. Lovely cut in finesse to beat Allison in the 42nd minute. It was the only goal in this one, and Chelsea held on for the 3 points.
Yeah, it was a massive, massive result for my Blues. They were very organized in this one, and that's been the general theme since Tuchel's come over. Very, very organized in terms of
Mhm.
their defensive shape, their shape in the midfield, and just staying compact. And they've really done a great job at that. And I think putting in Azpilicueta, I think he's been a great, great move at the back line. The leadership there, besides some younger center halves with Christensen, whoever's playing, or it's Zuma, and then you got Rudiger there as well. He's been phenomenal, and I don't think people talk about him enough because there's so many other pieces to this team. But in this game, the VAR call didn't make sense to me. I saw it. I was upset because where do you draw the line here? Is even if his arm's off, you can't score with his arm, so then you don't count his arm. But then they still marked it around his arm area. I was confused because every part of his body, other than his arm, was behind the last man. Um, and then they say they don't count the arm, but then they still called it off. I don't know where the
There's too
rule
much
lies.
variation. I don't get it.
There needs to be a rule that dictates no gray area. I don't want a gray area. I want something that just dictates what it is and that's it, because then fans don't have confusion. There's no controversy, even though controversy sometimes stirs up a good story.
Mm-hmm.
But huge result in terms of Chelsea. It's hard for a team to score and then it's ruled off. It's a big buzzkill, right? Big momentum kill. And then none other than Mason Mount, who has been playing phenomenally under the new manager. Frank Lampard liked him as well, but he's been really doing well under Tuchel, and he comes jetting down the field, cuts inside. The defenders can't keep up with him with the shift of pace and shift of you know shift of movement, I guess you want to call it. And then
Agility,
just
movement.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was so agile in that play, and then he just fired a lovely finesse shot that still hit the grass, skid off the grass, and then when it does like that, when the ball hits the grass like that, the goalie's not going to stop it because it just shoots off the turf. And Allison had no chance. It was a great finish and great resiliency from the team to maintain the nil, not allowing a goal. Right.
I think this was one of Chelsea's best games all year. They played absolutely fantastic. From the back line, Christensen, I think he played fantastic. You got Mount in the midfield. Although Werner didn't get his goal, which he felt he deserved, he still played great. He was so much trouble for that Liverpool back line. I think that it was a team contribution, and that's the reason why they got the 3 points.
That's a great word to use, team contribution, or a compound word, whatever you want to call it. Team contribution was definitely the theme in this one. Everyone played their part. They got the goal that they needed, and then they remained organized. That was key in this match, and they didn't let Liverpool get really anything to stir up their team and to break them down. So great result from Chelsea.
So we're going to move on to a new match day here, which, again, I have no clue why. But we got the third game on Thursday, March 4th, was from match day 33.
Yeah, we just fast-forwarded here, Daniel. Yeah, just match day 3.
Yeah, we just jumped 7 weeks in case you guys paused the video and then came back. Yeah, we're 7 weeks ahead already. We're match day 33. I think just because of COVID and some scheduling issues, they just decided to push this game back into this match day. But we got Fulham versus Tottenham. Tottenham won this one 1-0, and it was by way of an own goal from Adar Bio. Andrew. I'm not even gonna try.
It's a tough one. I'll admit.
Adara Bio? Adara Bioyo?
It's a tough one, Daniel. But it was an own goal. Nonetheless, it was an own goal.
Center back, the Fulham center back. He scored an own goal in the 19th minute. That was the only goal in this one. Tottenham came up with a big 3 points, 2 wins in 5 days. So it's big for Tottenham.
Hey, at the end of the day, it's a derby. It's a London derby. And any derby win is crucial, no matter how you get it done. Got a little bit lucky. They got an own goal. They didn't score any of themselves, but it is what it is. And after they got that own goal, they managed to secure a clean sheet. So good on them for that, I mean, really. And like I said, derby win is a derby win. It's huge for any team. So yeah, good for Tottenham to keep the wins rolling.
We're going to move on here.
Fan questions, baby.
We've got fan questions. This is a lot of fan questions. Then again, I'm going to repeat I did from the start. We appreciate you guys for sending in fan questions. Once every couple of weeks, we throw it up on our Instagram story. Send us questions, and you guys did. You sent us
some fire questions. Yeah,
we got some amazing questions. Really, we got 7 questions here. We're going to answer on the show today. Andrew, why don't you start us off with the first fan question?
A buddy of mine, Vanish, he asks, "Can Man City finally win the UCL, the UEFA Champions League?" Daniel, what do you think?
Yes, finally. As much as I hate to say, you got City like rivals. Like, I don't want to win a Champions League, but this team is so stacked, and if they continue playing like they have been in the league so far, like they're playing so good that they can beat, I think, anybody. I think their hardest opponent is going to be Bayern Munich because that team is also stacked. That would be a fantastic final. I would love to see that in the final. Imagine Bayern Munich versus Manchester City. That'd be great. Um, Hopefully they don't match up in the quarters or semis so that they can meet in the finals. But I think Man City finally has what it takes to win the UCL.
Dan, I'm gonna have to agree with you here. And not only they've been playing amazing, it's who's gonna beat them.
Mm-hmm.
No Real Madrid, no Barcelona, no PSG. Who else is there? I don't think Chelsea can contend with them. They're too good. The only team, like you said, that I'd argue is that Bayern Munich could do it. Bayern
Mm-hmm.
Munich's got a stacked team, similar to that of Manchester City. They got a lot of depth.
Well,
Depth
depth is
is so
both those
key.
teams.
And then they got those game-changing players. City's got their De Bruyne. Bayern Munich's got their Lewandowski's. Like those players are the game changers, really. And when they're firing on all cylinders, they're impossible to stop. So a clash between these two teams would be the ultimate final this year. They're the teams that have been, the most consistent. Bayern Munich's tapered off a little bit in their domestic league, um, but they're doing phenomenally in the Champions League, and I think that final would be amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm. We're going to move on to the next question here from Stefano. Does Sancho get sold in the upcoming window? If so, to where? This is, I think, the most obvious answer here is if so to. I'm going to answer the if so to where. It's going to be Manchester United, which I think that's why we included this question, because that's where he's linked heaviest to. Being a Manchester United fan, I don't think Sancho's going to be sold to them in the upcoming window. I think that they're asking for so much, and I really like being honest with you. I don't think that United needs Sancho. I think they have plenty of goal threats up top, and there's no need for them to go spend 80 to 100 mil on a winger that is going to help their team, but I don't think he's going to extremely help their team. You got Greenwood, who's already playing basically that right mid, right wing, right cam spot, and he hasn't been as good as he was last year, but yeah, last year was like just like he's probably never gonna get those numbers again. He had like 22 goals last year. Um, I don't think we need him, so I'm gonna say no.
I don't know if he's gonna leave. I don't know. And if he does, I don't think it's gonna be Manchester United because I think that dream is dead. I think there was an opportunity there. I think there's a window when he was heavily linked with Manchester United, like so many players are. But it really looked like it was gonna happen, that deal. It looked like he was gonna go to Manchester United for an outrageous sum of money, a large sum of money, but it never happened.
Mhm.
Dortmund wanted to hold on to him for one more season. They did, and he's still there. If he does go anywhere, I see him going to maybe like a Real Madrid. That's where I would see him, because the Hazard deal hasn't really worked out. Hazard's only got so many years of prime football, and he's been struggling with injuries, been struggling to stay fit. They're not really sold on Vinicius. They're not
Mhm.
really sold on Rodrigo. Maybe they bring in a guy like Sancho to up the ante, make those players, competitive for a spot. Who knows?
Mhm.
I think would fit in at Real Madrid. He'd be able to just go and do his thing there and excel. And maybe if they brought in a pair of Haaland and Sancho, that'd be amazing to see. Maybe both of them end up around Madrid. Who knows where
Mhm.
those two will end up? But to answer your question, Stefano, I don't think he's going to end up at Manchester United. And it's hard to answer this question, but if I had to answer it, possibly Real Madrid.
Mhm. We'll move on to the next question here from Ryan. We got this is probably gonna take a lot of time, so we're gonna cut this down a little bit. We got
Just
most
maybe say like
under
top five, like just sort of notable ones, maybe.
yeah
Then
most underrated player from each team. Do you want to do top five? The top
maybe
top.
five picks each that you think deserve,
Okay.
from
Um.
separate teams.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna start us off. First one, I'm going right to Manchester City. Gundogan.
Yeah.
Gundogan this year has been absolutely fantastic. He's already been voted Player of the Month. He's playing absolutely out of his mind this year. He's a fantastic midfielder. He's been going forward, scoring goals, getting assists. He's most underrated player this year for me from Manchester City. Throw it to you for the next one.
I'm gonna say Jamie Vardy because I know bro. I love Jamie.
Mhm.
Sick striker, like amazing finish, like amazing finishing ability, and for him to go from like non-league, non-competitive league to professional football is incredible. I think he's still slept on. I think people don't even consider him in the top five of Premier League strikers. So I'm gonna say underrated Jamie Vardy.
My second one, I'm gonna go with the second one that pops into my mind was James Milner because I think for the amount of versatility he gives you, and you think that he can play midfielder. He's played fullback before. He doesn't care where they put him. He can go in net for all he cares, and that versatility is so underrated in my opinion. You have a player like that. I'm gonna go with Milner for my second pick.
I already mentioned him in this episode, but I'm gonna go another underrated player, Azpilicueta. He's
Hmm.
been at Chelsea for quite a while. He's been their captain. He's a leader. He leads that young back line, and he's made some amazing tackles to really, save some goals at times. So I'm going to give the nod to Azpilicueta.
Who am I gonna go with here? This one might be controversial because I don't know if he's underrated, but I'm gonna go with Saka because he's young. I think people don't realize how good he is because he is like just absolutely fantastic. I love him as a player as much as I can't stand Arsenal. um, I think he's great. I think he's extremely underrated because I think he's already a special talent, and he's like 19 or 20 years old right now. So I think in like 5 years when he's in his prime age, he's going to be absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to go Saka as my third most underrated player.
I know people keep sleeping on James Ward-Prowse. He's an absolute beast for Southampton. He's a leader for that team. He's amazing, one of the world's best free kick takers.
Mhm.
He's got a great passing ability. So I'm gonna go James Ward-Prowse, super underrated for Southampton.
Okay, fourth pick. I'm gonna go with Raul Jimenez. I think it shows like I know he's been injured because that was a very gruesome head injury that he picked up against Arsenal, but it shows that that team in the standings right now without him and then where they would be if he was there with all the goal scoring he provides and the hold up play, and he's a big number 9 and just everything he does to that team. I think Jimenez is so underrated. He's a great striker in the Prem, and yeah, I for me he's my fourth most underrated player in the Prem.
I know number 4 for me is gonna have to be Patrick Bamford.
Hmm.
The guy scores bangers, man. Like he's an absolute beast, and he destroyed Aston Villa that one game earlier on in the season. I'll never forget the goals he scored. They're all crazy, crazy finishes. Patrick Bamford's got to be number 4 for me.
This is where I get lost. My fifth pick. Jeez,
I already got my fifth one lined up
you
here.
already got your okay. Okay, go ahead. You got your fifth one lineup. Go.
I'm gonna have to go with Brighton and Hove Albion fullback Tariq Lamptey. The guy used to play for Chelsea.
I
I'm
was looking at
sad
him.
Chelsea let him go, but they got James obviously to fill that void. But Tariq Lamptey, he's just so pacey. He's versatile. Could play as a fullback, could play as a wing back, possibly even as a winger. He's got that quality. He's been linked to Bayern Munich. He's been linked back to Chelsea. He's a super super talent, rate like waiting to make his big stamp on the game, and I think he will because he's got so much quality and he's got a great ability to play this game, especially in a competitive league and physically demanding league like the Premier League.
I'm having a laugh at my fifth player.
Who's your fifth? You mentioned Luke Shaw though; he's underrated as well. Like,
I see. I was gonna go Luke Shaw, but I already mentioned him, so I don't want to mention him again.
yeah,
Um, you're gonna have a laugh with this one. Lingardinho.
Lingard, yo, he's actually underrated. That's a good pick. I forgot about Lingardinho.
Like, okay, I know Manchester United, he didn't play great. He's been going through struggles there. He leaves, goes to West Ham, and is performing.
He's been
He's
tearing it
getting on the
up.
goal sheet every single game. He's been fantastic. Fifth underrated player. I think this was a good list. 10 guys we picked that are underrated. I like it.
Solid team. Solid team. Daniel, we're going to go to number 4 here. It's from Kasim. He's a sport media colleague of mine. He asks, will a team outside the big six, quote unquote, big six, finish in the top 4? 100%. 100%.
Mhm.
Just looking at the table here, got Everton. They're not considered that big six team. West Ham, not considered that big six team. And you have West Ham that has a game in hand, Everton that has game in hand in seventh place, Liverpool. And then you also got Leicester, which is not a big six team either. And
Is
look,
Leicester considered a big 16? I was going to ask.
I,
You got
I
Manchester
don't
City.
know. You got City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, and who am I missing here?
Arsenal.
Arsenal. There you
Are
go.
the Arsenal's
Yeah,
considered? Okay,
Arsenal's
okay.
considered a big six, 100%. They're known for being a big team in the league. So yeah, I think Everton could contend for that top 6 finish. West Ham's gonna be tough against Liverpool and Tottenham. They're really, really on their heels right there. But for sure, Leicester's not gonna drop out of the top 6. No chance. They had 50
Top four, top
points.
four.
Oh, top 4. Sorry. Yeah, Leicester. I don't think they're gonna drop out of the top 4, and I think possibly even Everton and West Ham could contend with the Chelsea. 'Cause Chelsea's only 1 point ahead of Everton, and then only 2 points ahead of sixth place West Ham. So it's gonna be a close finish there.
I'm gonna agree with you slash disagree with you at the same time. I think if Leicester was included as a top 6 team, I would say no. But I think that Leicester is gonna finish in the top 4. I think that they're playing well. I know with their injuries, they could falter slowly, but hopefully they weeks go by, they continue to get players back. I think Leicester is gonna be the only team outside of the top 6 that's gonna finish in the top 4.
Next question here for my boy Mateus. Mateus asks, do you believe the Prem was better 10 to 20 years ago? Or do you prefer the current Prem like the last couple of years better? I already know my answer, Daniel. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, there's gonna be so many people that are gonna hate me for this one. Um, I think Prem now is better.
I don't see why not. Like that's a good answer. I
This
would
is this
probably
this
answer the
is
same.
my this is my thought process behind this. If you go and you grab the best 18 guys, let's say even 11, you grab your best starting 11 in the Prem right now, and you put them up against guys 10 to 20 years. Oh my god,
Daniel, we're talking like when Cristiano Ronaldo
oh
was
my
at
god,
United. We're talking about Thierry Henry. We're talking about like all these legends that have been through the league. Like it's tough to say, but
this is a tough
Daniel,
question.
to answer this question, I'd say 10 to 20 years ago, like the Rooneys, like those guys really like the Paul Scholes, like the list goes on and on here, Daniel, really.
Mm-hmm,
But to answer this question, like those guys helped set a foundation for what the Premier League is today. They help garner the interest that the Premier League uh, that the Premier League has today, the worldwide interest. Guys
mm-hmm,
like that have inspired players to come over to the Premier League. We've heard numerous stories. I want to play in the Premier League because so and so was here. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean, Daniel? So I think those guys have helped, absolutely helped grow the game and helped to expand the Premier League around the world. It's the biggest league by by loads, right?
mm-hmm.
But today, I think I personally I get like such like this nostalgic feeling when I go and like watch tapes of like I don't know when the Aguero goal happened or like those big moments like the Rooney
Mm-hmm.
bicycle kick against City, like those big
Mm-hmm.
moments. I remember the 90 backflips after you would score goals, like
Yep.
that was my like most fond memories from when I was younger, right? When I was watching the league. We're only like 20 years old here, Daniel, so it's hard to remember like the Invincibles that happened, right? The Invincible
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal team that had so many like such great talent. Vieira, Pires, obviously Thierry Henry, the Bergkamps that were like there's so many great players that have come through, but it's hard to say, Daniel. But I'd say today's game is the game I prefer probably because I remember it so clearly and
Yep.
I'm able to analyze the games.
This is such a good question. This question is like I don't even know if I can answer this question.
I'm just going through the memories of my mind right now of like these moments that I remember. Like it's crazy. Like I'm just
Like
thinking vintage Chelsea too, with like the Bosingos that were there, like the Paul Freires,
yeah,
the
like
Carvalho. Like it's just like I just get these memories.
I this question is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna stick with this present prem probably only because I lived through it and I know when we were really young, we 10 to 20 years ago, we were 10 years old. I remember it when you watch tapes, but you don't remember it when you're actually sitting there watching it. I'm gonna go with today's prem is better, which please don't hate me, but like that's just I don't know. This is such a good question. I don't even know if I can answer this like to my full capability because like it's like I don't want to offend players that played long ago because they're legends now. Like it's like this is a great question. This is fantastic. I
Yeah.
want to move on to the next one.
My one of my good longtime friends, Matthew, he asks, what has been the cause of United's problems in terms of staying up in the race with City? This is where I save my answer for Daniel. Obviously, I have my opinion on it. You're gonna have your take on it. Um, but there's two key areas of Manchester United teams that need improving.
hmm
The first one's obvious. It's the
Repeat.
striking.
They're bad.
The back line too is obvious as well, but I think they really need
A
that guy.
quality number 9.
Yeah, because Cavani's not going to cut it. He's there for the short term, not for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been, it's hard to be his former self in the Premier League at the age that he is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they need a number 9. They need a number 9 that's gonna be there, like a Haaland. I'm talking like a Haaland solution. Like
Mm-hmm.
spend that
Something like
money,
that. Okay.
get. You're gonna get good results with Haaland for sure. And then the back line. They need someone there, a leader, because I think Maguire, he's a leader,
Sort of. Yeah.
sort of, but they need a world class player. And they spend world class money, but didn't get the world class player that they would have wanted. I think Maguire is good. He's good for the Prem, but he's not that guy to help them. And maybe some bench depth too, Daniel, because you look at City. Why are they so good? Because they play so many games, but they got so many players to rotate in. They got Phil Foden coming off the bench. They got
Mhm.
Gundogan coming off the bench when Kevin De Bruyne is healthy. Like that's the key areas that they need to address in order for them to lose to not lose a race and to stay neck and neck with a team like City.
Mhm. I agree with you with your second point. I think one of just like the simplest reason as to why United won't catch up to City is because of City's depth. They're both playing the same amount of games. They're both playing in Europe right now. You got plenty of games to be playing. Sort of trying to rotate players, but United doesn't have the bench depth that City has, where they can rotate players and they're still just as good as their starting 11. That helps them win games when they're coming off two or three multiple games in a week. The second point I want to mention is United needs to stop treating lower tier teams like they're lower tier teams. They go out against teams like Crystal Palace, and I don't know why I get this feeling, but when City goes to play a team like Crystal Palace or Sheffield or Fulham, where it's like you're playing bottom of the barrel teams, they go and they put out the best starting lineup that they have. They go and they score three goals quickly, and then they go and they start. That's when they start pulling off players, especially this year with five subs. You can pull off your De Bruyne's, your whoever needs your Ruben Diaz, your Stones. If they need time to rest, they're going to get their time to rest. And no matter if they're getting pulled quickly or they're not starting and then coming off the bench because they still need to win the game, they still go out and do that. I just think United pull up against teams that aren't great, and I've hated this from United for a long time because that's what they consistently do year in and year out. They go in and they play great games against the Liverpools and the Chelseas and the Manchester Cities, and then when you go and you're playing bottom of the barrel teams, they start slacking off, and I can't stand this from United. It's one of my main talking points. Like I can't stand.
And one more thing, Daniel, for this question, I think City, the difference is in mentality. I think City's got a kill, kill, kill mentality to go into games and absolutely just go out and firing on all cylinders. And I think Manchester United lacks confidence in certain moments. They don't have that belief that City has. You know, you could see it like in that Wolves game. They still believe that they're going to go out and get the win. Whereas
Mhm.
like Manchester United in the Crystal Palace game, they looked like they weren't confident to really go out and get that deciding goal. You know what I mean, Daniel? Like that's what I feel
Mhm.
like they missed, that mentality, that championship winning mentality.
We're gonna move on to the last question here. We got what three teams will go down this season? I think we've addressed this already. We've touched on it briefly in the podcast. I think I'm going to speak for both of us here that we think Sheffield and West Brom are going down. They're sitting in 20th and 19th. Um, like I can't see them hopping back up. Fulham has a chance, sitting in 18th with 23 points. They're only 3 points out of relegation, so one win would bump them out of relegation. And there's two teams, Newcastle and Brighton, sitting at 26. I think West Brom and Sheffield are solidified going down. I think Fulham might have a chance. I don't know, sitting only
They're
one
o- they're
win.
they're only 3 points back
Yep.
of Newcastle, but Newcastle also has a game in hand. Sheffield for sure, check them off. They're going down. West Brom, check them off. They're going down. They only have 17 and 14 points respectively. They're 2 and 3 wins behind Fulham for the 18 spot, which is still in relegation. So I think they're done. And then in terms of Fulham, heartbreaking, way to lose against Tottenham the other day, but I don't think they have it in them to go and catch Newcastle. I think Newcastle, it would be a huge shock if Newcastle got relegated. They're just a historically, you know, big club, right, in the Premier League and in British football. So it'd be a huge shock for them to go down, but I don't think it'll happen. I think the three teams, to answer your question, would be Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield. Those are my three teams.
Yep, I think I'm going to completely agree with you. I don't think either three of those teams have what it takes to compete in the Premier League. Um, Hopefully, teams coming out from the Championship next year don't get relegated because that's what you see a lot of. As soon as they get promoted, they get relegated again. Um, Obviously, not including Leeds this year, but yeah, hopefully for those three teams they can pick it up. And again, this is just our opinion, so hopefully they will jump out of relegation. But it's not looking good for them right now.
Daniel, that about wraps up this segment. That wraps up the episode. This is episode 5, fan Q&A. It was a great one. I really like that last segment there where we got to answer the community's questions. I love doing that. Just it, it's not always about recapping the match days. It's about, answering these questions. And these questions have some context to them, and it's really good to talk about these some of these questions, right?
Hmm. Yeah, just reminder for you guys, those of you that are listening and aren't already following, we have an Instagram page at Premier Talk Podcast. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So if you guys want to listen, we'll be there.
Yeah, drop us a follow on Instagram. We'd really appreciate it, and comments and likes also help us to see your support and helps us to keep going. So we really appreciate everything. All these questions really mean a lot to us, and just something we like doing, and we're going to continue going at it for a long time because we really enjoy it. So all right, that wraps up episode 5. We will see you guys next time.
See you there.
Peace.